I invested 10,000 euros in a single month for the first time in my life, and it feels really, really good. Today we want to philosophize about this in a new episode of Philosophy on Friday and discuss how I achieved it, where the money actually flows, and how it will continue from here. And with that, hello and welcome to Northern Finance. My name is Alex Black. There is a saying that goes, "You don't talk about money." I used to hear that quite often. Fortunately, I hear it less now, and from my perspective, it is completely wrong. There is nothing, really nothing, that interests people more than money and how much other people actually earn. Whether it's the salaries of colleagues, how rich certain wealthy individuals actually are, how many billions they have amassed, or simply the street surveys that we have often conducted on TikTok, or they have millions of views when I ask people on the street what the best investment was and people dare to respond. I find it extremely interesting, and it simply shows that people want to talk about money, but there is the cliche that you don't talk about money. I enjoy talking about money, and in my opinion, it makes sense to have more for yourself and not to have this mental block. That's about money again. I prefer not to think about it. I'll take care of it later. And when you talk about it, you also think more freely about it. And in my opinion, you automatically set slightly bigger goals because you might say, okay, he earned that much money, I can actually do that too. And with that, we are slowly coming to the topic of today's video, namely the 10,000 euro savings plan that I had in January. Yes, it was quite a lot. I have to honestly say that most people can't save that. Not even in a year, these 10,000 euros. You have to save it over several years, so to speak. You have to work very hard for it. And it can also happen that some setback occurs. For example, the car breaks down, and then you can no longer afford the whole thing at once. That's why I am very grateful that I can even save that. And that is anything but taken for granted. So let's talk about how I got here. And the foundation of all this, the basis of it all, is that I started my self-employment. If I were an employee, I could never afford that in my life. I also used to work in investment banking in the area of mergers and acquisitions. And while you can earn good money there, it's not that good at that age. That's why the self-employment I started during my studies is essential. In the first year of this self-employment, which was in my second year of studies, I earned nothing. Even when I was abroad in China for over half a year, a semester, I made about 500 euros a month, and that 500 euros went directly to the first employee. 450 euros at that time. Meanwhile, this amount has been raised a bit, and I reinvested everything directly. Today, 7 or 8 years later, I can say that the sacrifices I made back then regarding leisure, friends, parties, and such have made it possible for me to earn such amounts today and to invest as well. For me, it's a bit like when you start early with something. It's as if you have a V8 or V10 engine instead of a 3-cylinder for your financial freedom. At least that's how it seems to me. And one more very important thing. I didn't just start at some point, but especially in the last year, I learned how to establish and document processes in my company and how to bring more people into the team. More than ever, we currently have in our team, Northern Finance is now also available in Spanish on the website and YouTube channel, checked with a KI-generated translation by a real translator. So, we are doing many, many new and exciting things. And it is also important I grow, and I did last year. There is much more to come, so one can be excited. I have worked hard for years. I have had some luck. I have set up processes and systems, and with that I have made myself more independent from the output that I produce myself. The hours that I can invest myself, meaning writing new articles, checking AI translated videos, and so on and so forth, what we offer at Northern Finance helps people, and that's the only reason we also make money. One should always keep that in mind. So I need to switch arms because After a while, it actually gets a bit too heavy, whether you believe it or not. But we have achieved very good results from it, especially last year. This year is also going very well so far. And I set aside too much money for the taxes I have to pay. Accordingly, I have taken a conservative approach. In Germany, what I set aside from the company's revenues for taxes would definitely not have been enough for the finance. And I could transfer less, suddenly had much more money than I thought. And part of it went into the dividend for January. January is always a good month anyway. And so more than 14,000 euros in dividends from Northern Finance came together in January. Really, really strong. And now the question is, what did I actually do with this nice money? I did spend part of it on rent and so on, but today it's about the investment. And I transferred 7,000 euros to my accounts. There were still 800 euros in cash. To be honest, I didn't even know that. They were just lying around. Those were accumulated dividends from 2022, around 600 euros alone, and there were also dividends from 2021, totaling 800 euros. And I then invested that with my 7,000 euro deposit into my two world ETFs, Vanguard FTSE, Developed World and Emerging Markets, as can be seen nicely here. And what I find exciting is that I currently have a PE ratio of 7 for the emerging markets. 7, that's incredibly cheap. There's no other way to put it. To be honest, I'm also happy to be able to invest a large sum there right now. A PE ratio of 7 is extremely rare. For the developed world, as a comparison, you have a value of 19. That's anything but cheap, especially on average. But yes, I'm still quite satisfied that I can invest a bit more. On one hand, I have it cheaper. On the other hand, not so much, but it's okay now. And with the ETF. They offer, for the future, alongside potential capital gains that one can achieve, I estimate between 6 and 9% per year as realistic. You definitely get 3% dividend currently based on today's price. This means with an investment of 7,800 euros, 234 euros in dividends yearly, no one can take away from me. That's just a nice thing. At first it sounds like not much, somehow 200 euros a year, but that's a snowball. We also have a small mountain here, which one can imagine being significantly higher. We are now starting to build a snowball of financial freedom. And the more we invest in ETFs, the bigger this snowball will become. And the faster it can roll in the end and trigger an avalanche for financial freedom at the end of the day, as Warren Buffett also says. And my snowball started rolling relatively early. I had my first savings plan at 18 years old and is rolling faster and faster through these constant deposits and also increasingly higher deposits. And the important thing is simply to start early and without wanting to brag. Many don't even start saving until 30. Once you start and invest, it can be 10,000 euros, 5,000 euros, or even 1,000 euros. The main thing is to start. Build the habit. That's the be-all and end-all. So I have now invested 7,800 euros in these ETFs. And by the way, as a little motivation, that's 156 times as much as my 50 euro savings plan from 2018. So even when I recorded this video here in China in 2018, it was the first time in front of the camera. I could have never imagined that 6 years later I would be saving more than 150 times that amount monthly. And this journey doesn't stop here. It continues on and on. So leave me a like and subscribe if you like this whole thing, this transparency, and if you want to be part of this journey, which can certainly motivate you as well. And if you really want to take it to the extreme, you could say, yes, if in 6 years it is again 156 times what I can save per month, then that would be 1.2 million. So if I don't sell the company, I think it's very hard to achieve. But one is allowed to play a little and dream. And even if you want to trade cheaply in especially exotic US ETFs or exotic stocks, Freedom24 is worth it as a broker. Here you can trade super cheaply and get a nice bonus with the link below in the description up to hundreds of euros. I have included my entire review here in the info card, linked below in the video description. After that, I invested even more money, namely 2,000 euros in Bitcoin. I have had a savings plan running for some time now, always around 1,000 to 2,000 euros a month. That is my only cryptocurrency that I have, and I also have a hard wallet for it and buy here at regular intervals. Jamie Dimon recently referred to Bitcoin as a pet rock in Davos, jokingly implying in a light-hearted manner that it is not a serious investment. Bitcoin itself is a hyped-up fraud. It's a pet rock, you're back to that. But really? Yeah. It reminds me a bit of Patrick Star from SpongeBob if you saw that back then. But it's funny that this definitely comes from someone who would have the most to lose if banks functioned in a decentralized manner and money did too. But anyway, my pet rock made 160% last year, so that's a different topic. Recently, I made 1,000 euros in P2P investments in January. In December, I had invested more and had to catch up with ETFs in January. I won't say yet which platforms I invested in, but a video about that will be coming soon. Let's draw a conclusion from this. I have now invested 10,000 euros. That doesn't surprise me. I thought it was pretty cool when I was able to do it and saw the amount. But it is basically just the product of years of work that has now materialized and will continue to materialize in the future. So stay motivated. Keep saving, continue your education, invest in your own education, and maximize your passive income as much as you can, without cutting too much into your own needs. For example, I also buy myself a new sweater when I need one, but this one is still good. So extreme frugality doesn't help in achieving such numbers. Rather, entrepreneurship and self-employment, and if it goes in that direction, isn't so bad at all. That should be it for this video. I hope this philosophizing on Friday was a bit enjoyable for you as it was for me, and walking along the sea is actually a pretty cool thing. I wish you good motivation from this, a good return, and see you next time.